All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr, SEC basketball reaction. We did share our reaction on Tuesday night
Yes, we
to
did.
Ole Miss's win against Kentucky. We talked about Florida's win against Vanderbilt, but the late game of the night was Auburn, Oklahoma. And as always, we come back the next morning, talk about that one. Max, what do you know? I'm gonna tell you something right now. I
What do
know
you
you
got?
watched the game, but if you
Yep.
didn't, I'm just gonna say, hey, Auburn won again. Um, they're 9-0 in the SEC now, 98-70. The win over Oklahoma. It was an interesting game in the first half, but we've said that a lot sometimes about Auburn games this year, where it gets interesting for a bit and then all of a sudden it's not anymore. I mean, it's just like at this point, I said it like I put out the tweet. I'm like, Auburn, Auburn just won the first half of their games in an 18 game conference slate. And they did it in the strongest conference in the history of the game statistically. And they won all 9 of their games to start things off here, right? Like so the first half, a full sweep here to move to 21-1 on the season, 9-0 in SEC play. Now, as we said, they're certainly going to have some tough games the rest of the way, but just a ridiculous feat that is. Just again, knowing within the context of the conference you're doing it in and where that context or where that conference ranks historically, just a wild thing. But as for this game, yeah, it was really all Auburn once they took off, and second half just completely just took over the game.
Yeah, well, Blake, also before I get into this, those numbers in this start is even crazier when the unanimous one or two for the National Player of the Year race. It's a two-man race right now. The unanimous top two player in the nation missed a game at home against Mississippi State and a game on the road at Georgia, where it's tough to play. Didn't matter. Didn't trip them up. Diving into this game though, Blake, I thought they didn't even play that well. They scored 98 points and won by 18 points. Covered a 17-point spread. I thought they could have played better. They didn't shoot the ball all that well. Well, Denver Jones shot the ball very well.
Yeah.
Miles Kelly goes 1 for 7. Well, Kelly and Baker-Mazara combined 2 for 12. Right, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like the usual suspects for the Tigers didn't have their usual games. Still put up 98. Doesn't even matter. I think Johni Broome had what, like 2 points in the second half, or 28. Sorry, not 18. Yeah. Johni Broome barely even scored in the second half. Blake, he didn't even need to. I just watched the Bruce Pearl press conference, and he said that he took Broome out because he just didn't want him to get injured in a time that he didn't need to even be out there. But you put up 98 with Kelly and Baker-Mazara combining 2 of 12, and Broome doesn't even do that much.
No. Well, and just quickly, I did just update this too, and I know people were asking. So James asked, was that a quad 1 win? So Oklahoma was not a quad 1 win. But I did update it this morning because last night I put the tweet out that Auburn, their 15 to their 21 wins, 12 were quad 1, 3 were quad 2. Well, Mississippi State, what do you know, moved up a spot this morning from 31 to 30. Of course, they didn't play. Keep that in mind. But it's just a matter of how other teams play. And so Mississippi State moved up to 30, which now puts that back in a quad 1 win category. So Auburn's back to 13 quad 1 wins, 2 quad 2 wins. But this one was not. This one followed in the quad 2 range. So, yeah. So there you go on that. But like you said, I mean... And look, I mean, the Baker-Mazara thing, whether he got ejected, not ejected. He got, what was it? The technical, which fouled him out. Whatever it was, like 10 minutes to go in the second half. At that point, the game was in hand. It really didn't matter. But, yeah, but he finishes with 15 points in 20 minutes overall. Like, that's the number, right? Like, the guy could have played another 10 minutes, and he probably, is chipping in, 7 or 8 more. So that was kind of the story here. Like you said, Broome didn't have to do a whole lot beyond just doing his thing for a certain stretch of the game, taking over, and yet he's still, you look at the stats, and you're like, okay, this guy didn't do a ton in the second half, but come on. It's pretty outstanding. So, all right, what do you want to pull up here? I know you sent me something on this.
Oh, I sent you. Yeah, I know. 1 by 28, guys. Sorry, it's early. Seeing the numbers wrong.
It's early.
While you're pulling that up, I want you to pull something up. Jim Root with 3-man weave. If you guys don't, I guess we are just a nonstop advertisement for other college basketball podcasts in the field. Jim Root last night, he says Auburn doesn't have a ton of weaknesses, but Baker-Mazara succumbing to the same stuff that got him booted last year could be the only one. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's kind of hilarious that if you're trying to find an angle to break down a game for Auburn and you're finding things that could maybe, negatively impact them down the road, we're going to potential flare-ups and technicals, literally like nothing to do with the actual play. But I mean, it is a little, it is a
Sorry,
little bit.
I just saw the clip you sent me.
You like that?
All right, here we go.
Pull it up.
There we go.
Pull it up.
Okay.
Pull it up.
Hold on. Let's stop this here. I should have known you were going to send me this. All right, here we go.
This was fantastic.
Are you ready for this? Okay.
One of the best players defensively.
All right, here he goes. Here he goes. Wait for it.
Ready?
Oh, there he goes. My guy. My guy. Oh, my gosh. Dylan Cardwell is he is a national treasure. I sent you guys the Hulk Hogan hulking up because he did. Yep. There was the one visual. I'm sure. Hold on. Someone had to have this on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it here. So someone had to have the actual screenshot of him staring into the camera, into the soul of America after he made one of those plays. It's just, yeah. Oh, there it is. I knew someone would have it. Here it is. All right. I'm going to shout out to @TylerWinfrey25 on Twitter. I'm gonna take this from you, and we're gonna use it here because I just think this is tremendous. But yeah, Dylan Cardwell, just the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to great emotion. And here it is. Are you ready?
Just awesome stuff.
There it is. Just staring into the camera. Like, oh my gosh, I thought that was great. You guys knew you were getting a text from me after that happened. So yeah. But anyways, I mean, look, it's just. We were talking about it. It's just look at the production on this team, right? And we can start like Chris Moore, 6 points. Cardwell with 8. Kelly with 9. Pettiford with 11. Johnson with 13. Jones with 13. Broome with 15. Baker-Mazara with 15. I mean, just ridiculous balance. Everybody can do what they do here, and that's just why they are the ultimate team right now. So, shot 69% from 2, and Oklahoma turned it over a bit. I just, from the Oklahoma standpoint of this thing, we said it. The only way you felt like Oklahoma was going to have a chance here, they had to shoot a great percentage from 3. Now, they did get to the free throw line 29 times, made 27 of them, a nice 93%, number there, but just got, beat on the glass, and we said it, like, I think we may have played the game. How many threes would they have to hit if they were going to have a chance to win this game or something? Like, we knew it'd be a ridiculous number. 7-23, not going to cut it. But also, they weren't getting any easy shots inside the arc either. And that's why they go 11-31 from 2, 36%. That's not going to get it done either. So, Auburn's defense, Max, continues to be something. We love the offense, but, man, the defense may be what takes them to a championship. So.
Yeah, Moser said that also. Moser said in the postgame, he said, everyone talks about their offense, but their defenses are really, really good. And Bruce said that they did some defensive scheme stuff. This is where it gets all gibberish for me. But they did some defensive stuff to help out Broome and Cardwell be able to see the ball screen action that was going on. And Bruce said that directly correlated to the 9 blocks combined for Broome and Cardwell. Cardwell with 6 blocks. Are you kidding me? But Default here says, I'll admit, Cardwell is actually likable. Now, we understand, you guys are as passionate as it gets, and there's nothing I like more than some passion here. But Cardwell is just entertaining. He gives the fans exactly what they want. He's a fans player, I mean, look, he doesn't have to go down the court and, dancing like, doing the high stepping and everything. I'm going to miss next year when there's no Dylan Cardwell antics to pull up on the screen anymore.
Give me Dylan Cardwell on the coaching staff.
Yes. Can we get a Dylan Cardwell interview? That would be fantastic. I am going to pull up some Evan Mia, as we like to do here every so often.
Oh, yeah. This was great.
This was fantastic. Top glue guys in the country here. If you were watching the watch along this weekend, I asked Chris if there's one player that you could pull from outside of the SEC and just free agent, midseason, signing, get him in. I said JoJo Tugler. No surprise that he's number one in the country. If you're bored and there's no SEC basketball on and you see Houston's playing, tune in just for Mr. JoJo Tugler. But look at who's right next to him. Look at who's number 2. Dylan Cardwell.
How many SEC guys are in there? Right? Cardwell's at 2, Anthony Robinson at 3, Cam Matthews at 4. No surprise there. Tommy Houck at 6. Chaney Johnson at 7. Felix Okpara was at 9, 10. Shedrick. Yeah. Garcia, man.
Yeah.
A lot of SEC flavor there.
Yep.
Your guy, Dre Davis, down there too.
Yep. Great stuff from Evan. So just wanted to show that even though, Cardwell might not have the stats like Broome or the big scoring nights like Chaney has a few times, man, his stuff is still showing up on some analytics and it's proven that Mo D has been playing too many minutes, Don. That's why he didn't qualify. I'm pretty sure there's like a minutes thing on it. Someone asked Evan in the comments about that, and he was explaining it. So you can check him out at Evan Mia on Twitter, Don.
Yeah. Again, we love Evan's stuff here. Lots of other stuff you can dive into to understand Auburn's dominance this year and many other things as well. But, yeah, so coming out of that, again, this was a game that was pretty one-sided. We know Auburn gets the big game against Florida at home on Saturday, and so that's a big one. Gators, as we said, got back on track. Without Walter Clayton, that'll be an interesting thing to look at. Walter Clayton didn't play last night against Vanderbilt. We'll see what the status is on Saturday. But that's up next for Auburn, and then we know next week, a big week where they go to Vanderbilt on Tuesday, and then they go to Alabama next Saturday. So we do know, by the way, we haven't decided yet on the watch-along for this Saturday. We can go ahead and confirm. The watch-along next Saturday is pretty clear. It will be Auburn and Alabama. So that will be the choice. Afternoon game, too, as we talked about. So we will be doing that for the watch-along next Saturday. But, all right, meanwhile, if we look at it from Oklahoma's standpoint, who we said Oklahoma was kind of an interesting position. What were they, a 9 seed in most people's brackets yesterday? And so, yeah, I think now you kind of look at their path forward. They get Tennessee on Saturday. That's an interesting game for Oklahoma. That's in Norman. Then they go to Missouri next Wednesday. And then they get the following Tuesday, they go to Florida. So we said Oklahoma's got one of the toughest schedules left of anybody. I think it was third in ESPN BPI behind Alabama and Vanderbilt. So it kind of started with that game against Auburn, and there's not really many. I mean, every game they're going to play the rest of the way is against the NCAA tournament team except for the next Saturday game against LSU. So, every other team they play is, I don't want to say necessarily a lock. Texas, I don't know if you'd say they're complete lock just yet, but everybody should be getting in the tournament the rest of the way. So, yeah.
I just want to correct myself real quick. I misspoke. Not Mo D doesn't play more minutes. He doesn't play enough. Evan had a 15-minute per game parameter on that stat.
Okay, so that's what it was.
Not more. Didn't play enough minutes, or else he would have been there. Real quick on Oklahoma, Blake. They've won back-to-back home games, and that's going to be a 3, 4, maybe 5-point spread on Saturday against Tennessee. You want to talk about like a game that could really lock them in. You win that one on Saturday. I mean, you are sitting pretty. As for Auburn, Bruce is worried about Florida. I wouldn't say worried, but he's he said a few times last night, like, Florida is going to cause some problems for us because they are a complete 180 from Oklahoma when it comes to physicality and how they play. He said this is going to be tough for us. He said this is a very quick turnaround and like change of style very fast. He said this is going to be a tough one. So
yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. I think that, again, Florida's a tough team matchup wise for anyone, and we talked about all the reasons why this season, but we've also said Florida on the road has not been, great. So that, we'll see what we get into when we talk about that game. But just quickly getting back to the chats here, John is now a member of the It Just Means More tier here at Southeastern 16. We appreciate John. Also left us a $10 super chat. Always nice to become a new member and then just super chat back to back. That raises your stock in our eyes, John. New member, he says War Eagle. So John will be jumping in for the members-only live streams, watch-alongs coming up. Look, I'm just going to say right now the front runner probably is Auburn in Florida on Saturday. Like we said, we already know we're establishing that it'll be Auburn and Alabama the following weekend. So we'll see, though. We'll make it official for you guys for this weekend. But Mitch, $1.99 on the super chat. Max Barr, was this an official blowout? Can we get an official ruling on this game?
Check with the sources. I think this one checks out there, Blake.
All right. We're going to call this a blowout. 28 points. Yeah. We do classify this as a blowout. So there you go. All right. Let's talk about some other things here. We know we have some big games coming up on tonight's slate, specifically the Tennessee-Missouri matchup. Maybe I'm still so impressed by Tennessee's performance over the weekend against the Gators. But, yeah, Max, look, any other thoughts you want to add? We did our full preview on this game for tonight. Obviously a big one. I brought up the stat. Kentucky and Missouri, the only teams that have won back-to-back games in Knoxville currently. So, streaking in the right direction. Now you play a Tennessee team, and we know the injury report, too. I'm sure you have that somewhere.
It's almost like someone had their screen ready to share.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was the case. So, injury report. If you're Tennessee, you're loving that right there.
Yep.
So, well.
Yeah, right from, you love when you're trying to find injury news and you get an update from the player himself.
Right.
You're trying to find, you're going through the beat writers pages. You're trying to find an update. You click on a link. You got to be a paid member of the website. I'm just looking for some injury news. Well, Zakai Ziegler came out and said, guys, I'm good to go. All right. You heard it from me. We're going. We're ready to rock and roll. And so he's good to go. Still no Cade Phillips popping up on the reports. And it's been just Trent Burns for Missouri for about 2 weeks now. So nothing new there. Excited that we're getting pretty much a full, it's still not full, but compared to what these teams were a few weeks ago with a few guys out, excited for that game. Moving down, Arkansas, Texas, still the usual. No Weaver, no Fland. Kaluma's good to go. Nothing new there. And then just Jaylen Reed. So Victorious Miller, good to go. We're going to have a pretty clean night. We got a healthy night of ball. There we go.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting slate because I think you're going to get a lot of free throws on this slate. Just my opinion. You've got Georgia at home, always going to shoot some free throws. You got Tennessee, Missouri. I think two teams that can get to the free throw line. As we know, Missouri likes to get there. Can they get there in Knoxville? That's a question. And Arkansas, Texas, I think is kind of a chippy type game based on what do we see from the Hogs here. I'm very curious to see what we get from this Arkansas team coming off that win at Kentucky. Meanwhile, we've said Texas is just surging right now. They are playing some really good basketball. And, yeah, I think it's kind of a sneaky good slate because we talked about, we're having the discussion about Georgia. They got to win this game against LSU. Arkansas, pretty much in must-win territory the rest of the way now. They feel like their NCAA tournament chances. So, trying to get one like this would be significant, I think, for them. And so, I think it's a pretty interesting slate. So,
fun year to be a Georgia fan because you basically have two favorite teams now because you're rooting for the Johnnies in every game.
Right.
And Johnnies pick up the big win at home over Marquette. they're surging. So as they go, so does Georgia's resume gets to stick up there. But yeah, I mean, if Georgia's able to win these 2 home games this week, I'll pick up some momentum with LSU, carry that into the weekend when you host Mississippi State, kind of a Mississippi State team that's up in the air right now. This is a team that, talking about Georgia, this is a team that doesn't really have a big week in terms of like prime time, like marquee matchups, but in terms of like importance of your season, you go 2-0 this week could be the difference between making the tournament and not making it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's rooting for other teams at this point. Like Oklahoma's thrilled that Arizona has become as good as they've been. I mean, Oklahoma's getting helped out by Louisville, and that's the context of your resume, right? So we all know that the SEC is going to give you lots of wins, but it's also helping that some of these teams are turning it on. And we have our discussions sometimes about, well, what is the value of beating a team back when they weren't what they are now? But from a metric standpoint, it doesn't really matter when you beat them. If they just keep getting better, it's only going to help your resume. So, yeah, that's certainly the case, with the way they're playing right now, with all these teams like that SEC teams have wins over in the non-conference. So, yeah, Georgia in kind of must-win spots. I mean, again, for Arkansas, they got to just find wins at this point. I mean, someone asked me the question earlier. It's like, what do they have to get back in the NCAA tournament conversation? Like, I'm like, the magic number, I think, is still 8. Like, they still need to get to 8, and it's not going to be easy to do. But could they get to 7 and win a game or 2 in the SEC tournament? I think that's doable. But it's just like, it's what combination of that is it, right? Beating LSU and South Carolina as part of those 2 wins, that gets you to 4. So it's like, if you just do the math, you're then going to add 2 or 3, or at least 3 more wins against NCAA tournament teams. So it's like, it's all going to take care of itself. But, I think that's where these teams like this are. And I know we didn't really touch on Kentucky from last night in this one, or the Florida Vanderbilt, but again, we did talk for, I don't know, an hour last night or whatever, on those 2 games. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's, Kentucky's 4-5 in the SEC now. Their good wins are still outweighing everything else in terms of their resume. It's like Vanderbilt. They're 4-5 in the SEC too, but they still have some good wins, as we know. So it's just, as long as you keep finding wins somewhere in this league this year, the math will take care of itself to get you, where you need to be in the NCAA tournament seeding. So.
Yeah, real quick, just because my mind was thinking about the slate tonight, because I will circle back to last night's games. Blake, last night the home team sweep, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss. Tonight you have Tennessee as an 8-point, Texas as a 7-point, and Georgia as an 8-point favorite. Odds tell you at some point one of these minus 250, minus 300 home favorites is going to go down. If you had to pick one tonight, what one do you think it is? Because I have one where I might even think about going outright. Forget the points. Keep the points.
I mean, Missouri would be the choice for me.
Okay.
I can't trust Arkansas yet until I see them. If they win tonight, then I'm all in on the Hogs again. You know how they just pull me back in.
Yep.
But I can't just from a 1-game sample size, because I've learned my lesson. I've done that this year. And they turn around the next game, and I would pick Missouri. So
it's almost like you want the Hogs to pull you back in. It's like, hey.
I do.
Because if you want, I'm right here.
If the Hogs pull us back in, then we're looking at you're looking at 13 NCAA tournament teams probably. Somebody in that mix is going to get left out. But if Arkansas is pulling me back in, that means they're winning some games. And maybe one of those group of, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas maybe drops out somewhere, but we'll see.
This could be something special. If Arkansas gets dragged all the way down to the depths and then just figures it out. Hey, I'm here for it. Okay, then let's talk about last night real quick.
Oh, are you muted, Max, or is it just me?
Here's the thing with when you hit your mute button on your microphone when you're trying to adjust it.
Sometimes that'll turn your sound down, from what I know. But
yeah, you know, the thing is you can fix that real quick. You can just hit the mute button. You can fix that. Not sure if we can fix some of the problems here with the cats. And this is not coming from me, because a lot of times when we're really diving into games, I like to go to the guys close to the program, the guys that know it even more than we do. And I like to think we do a good job at covering our bases. Brandon Ramsey last night was like, he was questioning the effort, questioning the physicality, like the individual effort. That's what I don't know can get fixed. The injuries, guys can get healthy. Lamont Butler, it's been said they're expecting him back. You know, those things can get fixed. But that individual effort, physicality, just toughness, whatever words you want to describe it, that's a question in the air right now that I don't really know what the answer is to. You know, that's the one thing where it's like, I don't know.
I mean, the physicality, we've had issues with that all year, I think. I have. I just, they're just not there's just not a physical team, which was all the more mind-blowing how they won at Tennessee. Like, it's just, I mean, Tennessee was just bumping them, pushing them everywhere, and they were still able to get some open shots, but it's just like, is that just one of those games where just everything goes right and you just make shots and it doesn't matter that much? Yeah, I guess it was. But, like, yeah, when you talk about just the physicality, if they are the one that, again, does not really set the tone from the start, and you let teams like Ole Miss or Texas A&M or whoever else, which I know they beat A&M, but you know what I mean? Like, I think the further we go in the season, those are the kind of teams that still, if you're trying to find teams that will beat them, I think it's just going to be teams that, A, can just run good offense because they just don't defend very well. And I think it's also going to be a combination of teams that either will just bump you and bump you and bump you some more. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's some combination of that. And like we said, we feel like we've already identified what those teams are. Either, you know, but then it's like, I say that, and I'm like, look at their wins and look at their losses. Like, it's still, they'll go beat one of those teams we think is like their Achilles heel, but then they'll turn around and lose to a team where we feel like it's a good matchup. And so it's like, I don't know that it's actually clearly defined. It's just, it's very unpredictable with Kentucky. So, but it's, look, Butler not playing too. We said it. I mean, that adds more elements of the unknown because you just don't have your point guards. And so that's going to change the game a little bit too. But
yeah, jumping around here a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about Florida and just kind of the momentum that I feel like they've picked up with a win like that without Walter Clayton Jr. Yet I had the feeling that even though they'd had some good wins after that Tennessee game, I feel like they just needed a pick me up, and to do that and have the guys do it who did it, you know, Klabschar or Klabzar, however I say his name, you know, having the, you know, the team favorite step up, you know, you're having Sam Alexis out there knocking down a three and the bench is going wild. Like, I just felt like that was a real pick me up game for Florida. And now you go to Auburn, kind of feeling a little bit better about yourself. Aberdeen is probably feeling a little bit better about himself. Tommy Howe had a great game. And so I just wanted to kind of try to pick on that angle of like, man, this is probably Florida's biggest game of the year here on Saturday. And I feel a good amount better after that Tuesday performance than I did just like on Monday, Sunday.
yeah, I think what's interesting to think about is if Florida wins this game on Saturday, I know Auburn fans, we're playing hypotheticals here, okay? Don't report it. We made our picks. But we had the conversation yesterday morning about number one seeds in the SEC. And so just think about the idea if Florida were to get a win like that, right? they were right there in terms of that 1 seed line. And so it's like, would they? I think that would push them up to it. Now, they probably knock Tennessee back. But then again, I'm like, well, Tennessee could get a good win against Missouri. And so, you see what I mean? Like, here's again what we're rooting for, right? It's the Dukies have to lose. They play Clemson coming up, right? Is that their next game? I don't have their schedule in front of me.
Yeah, it's their toughest game next. I'm pretty sure I heard that.
So Duke loses. Florida. Can we get all four? Can we get 4 SEC teams on the one line? That's all I'm looking for. So
I'm here for it.
Okay,
I just found something. I've got to pull it up. I'm sorry. Just because we're talking about Florida and we're talking about the upcoming matchup, kind of. I'm not going to have audio on it, but look, just read this caption. The Auburn student line to get in line for the Florida game. Oklahoma game just ended 5 minutes ago. They're already lining up.
It just means more.
I mean, come on. How do you not get fired up after seeing that?
It just means more. Number 1 team in the country, riding high. Got a big matchup coming up on Saturday. So how about this from Clark? At the end of the game, Cardwell sitting at the end of the bench chatting with a fan. A man of the people. I enjoy that. A man of the people. So, for sure. So, all right. Let's get a couple things here. Carter, quick question for me. Since Alabama only beat Mississippi State by 4, Missouri beat Mississippi State by 27, does that mean Missouri would be favored by 23 on a neutral court against Alabama? Absolutely.
That's how it works.
There's no question about it. Tony with a 1999 super chat.
Tony.
WD. Tony late to the party. That's okay, Tony. We started a little early this morning. Hope we're having a good morning. Hope you are too, Tony. We always appreciate you jumping in. Another win for Tony's Auburn Tigers. So, yes, we always appreciate Tony's contributions here at the channel. But, Max, I'll tell you one thing. I'm getting fired up with all this number 1 seed talk. Getting fired up about it.
Me too.
I'm thinking brackets. So when I think brackets, I only think one thing. I think bracket bids. We all know it by now. Eat, sleep, bracket bids. That's the way I see it. And so just tremendous work these people are doing at bracket bids. Don't just fill out a bracket. Take your experience to the next level with bracket bids. Enter into that free pick 'em contest we keep telling you about. Or start an auction draft league with friends, family, or coworkers. We'll do that. We're going to have some fun with it. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league base to secure the teams you think will go the distance. Choose from multiple scoring models, including upset bonuses to reward the bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring, and watch the standings shift in real time. The further your teams advance, the higher you climb the standings. That's how it works. For league play, use the promo code SE16 for 40% off. SE16, 40% off. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com.
Okay, so we always like to highlight some stats. I don't like to do negative stats too much, but it was kind of historic in the Kentucky game. Did you see the Trilly Donovan's tweet that Ansley Almanor and Trent Noah combined for a 28 trillion, which means it's the amount of minutes played, and then they didn't record a single stat. So here's the actual craziness to it, like just how crazy it is in context. Against Ole Miss, both Almanor and Noah recorded 0 stats in the box score. Of all games where the full stats are available, this is the second and third most minutes played by a Kentucky player without recording a stat. The first was 24 minutes in 1983.
Wow.
So just think about like just how bizarre that is. I mean, you're talking like 40 years of stats, and this is the second and third most that of minutes played without recording a stat. Not even, I'm not, saying Almanor or anything. Like Ole Miss does a great job at scheming, and their defense it's hard to get ball rotations against them and stuff, but just bizarre, just a wild stat, really.
Yeah, that is wild. So, where is it? Hold on. Kind of sick of setting historically bad records, to be honest. Yeah, well, we get it. We get it. But yeah, I mean, I think again, it's just I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like you said it perfectly. Like they just have the widest range of outcomes. Like the variance with this team right now is just it's so wide, and you just don't know what you're going to get night in, night out. But you do feel like you should get a win on Saturday against South Carolina. And then, as we said, from there, you kind of see how you navigate it, how Butler gets closer to being back and all those things. But, Max, I will say, too, the historical stat last year, remember we said Alabama finished 2 offensively, 111 defensively. Kentucky's dropped to 112 this morning. So that no longer applies on that. So, but anyways, so all right, what else do we want to get to? We don't have a lot more because, again, we've already previewed tonight's games in separate videos. You can check those out. We already talked about Kentucky, Ole Miss, Florida, Vanderbilt last night. And again, we just mentioned Auburn's dominant performance against Oklahoma. What else, Max, before we hop off?
Just trying to see what the chat wants to talk about. We got about
the chat's talking about Nate Oates and Kentucky, and the chat's
they're all over the place.
We're everywhere this morning.
We're all over the place.
Hold on, there was one earlier I wanted to. Come on, we got to get our jokes in because that's all people are talking about. But hold on a second. Let me find it here. Here we go. And I know everyone took off with this, but rumors have Nate Oates going to the NBA. So, yeah, I heard I think Luka mentioned it in his press conference, didn't he? I think he said that actually the reason I got traded to the Lakers is because I was guaranteed that Nate Oates was coming to coach the Lakers. So, I would say you heard it here first, but no. You heard it from Luka, I think, straight in the press conference. So, anyways, yeah, Big Baller Brett will handle it. He said he'll moderate this thing. He'll make sure these rumors don't spread. So, but anyways, we have our fun here. But all right, what else?
The coaching rumor mill in the SEC is starting to pick up a little bit of steam. There's a few different rumors flying around.
Some things happening.
I like a good rumor. I like a good rumor.
I like a good rumor in February when it comes to the coaching carousel. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I don't know if anything could top last year's coaching carousel, to be honest with you. I think last year's was an all-timer. So, I'm not sure anything will top it. But we'll find out for sure. So, all right. Something else we need to get to. It's a great comment. From Norris 95. Can we get some of these coaches out of the SEC, please? Norris 95 says he'll pay the buyout just to get them out of here. So can't blame you if you're a fan of certain teams and you're looking up at these other ones saying, man, if these coaches are there for another 15 years, it could be trouble. Anyways, is this true? Big Baller Brett already a high thought of Discord mod, so he would do well here. All right.
Oh wow.
Add it to your resume.
I was just going to say, submit a resume.
All right. Speaking of resumes, we talk about NCAA tournament resumes and all that.
Yep.
If we want to talk about life resumes, Max Barr, I can't imagine anyone has a better resume than Sanders Logistics because they are just, again, your friends and mine. Formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. They got quad 1 wins everywhere when it comes to moving. They've not played a single quad 4 opponent. They only play quad 1 games, and they win them all.
Yeah.
Because their team of professional movers are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. Professional. They're not amateurs here. That's why they're winning all these quad 1 games. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com.
All right.
All right. We're out of here. Leave us an emoji on the way out. Literally anything. Well, maybe not anything, but give us an emoji of some sort. We like that in the chat on the way out. So, yeah.
What do we got? What do we got in store for tonight? Probably after the Arkansas, Texas, Missouri, Tennessee window.
Definitely going live after Missouri, Tennessee tonight. So be ready for that. We'll talk about that game, and then who's the late game?
The late game is Georgia LSU, but that is supposed to be on SEC Network after Missouri, Tennessee. And if I know anything about this league, that thing's not starting until 9:30.
Oh, wait. Arkansas, Texas also in the late slot. So Okay, so yeah, so we'll just be doing the
Oh, yeah, they
Tennessee
are.
Missouri reaction.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be doing something after that game. So yeah, that's kind of the plan here for sure. By the way, another coaching carousel rumor here from Jacob. People are saying Bruce Pearl might take a VP position at Sanders Logistics. We cannot confirm that, but again, Sanders Logistics quad 1 wins. Bruce Pearl, they got a lot in common. So. Jacob says, if Missouri was in the preseason top 25, where would they be ranked currently? Always a great question because it's like it does factor into your ranking. It's just like the higher you start, like eventually it all works itself out, right? But I mean, honestly, Jacob, I don't know they'd be that much different just because, I mean, they're up to 15 now, right? So it's like, I mean, if they started at 25 or something, sure, they'd probably be in the top 10 somewhere maybe, but I don't would they be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? I still don't think they'd be like top 5 or anything. But we said it. Mr. Bart Torvik has them as the what is it? What was the thing we shared yesterday or we talked about? I don't remember what it was. Second.
They're
since
number
Caleb Groh
2.
was back and healthy.
Yeah, number 2
nationally. So, anyways, but all right, I think we're done here. We appreciate.
You know what's crazy about Missouri? Just real quick. After their first 3 games of the season, they lost to Memphis, then they beat Howard by 15, and then they beat Eastern. Remember the Eastern Washington game? They only won by 7.
Oh yeah, they had a couple of those games early where it was.
They were 64th in Ken Pom in mid-November, and just went on an old blitz.
See, they're gonna get some movement tonight if they win at Tennessee. So.
Yep.
We'll see how it goes. Again, check out everything, all the previews for tonight's reaction to last night's games, and we'll be live tonight after Missouri, Tennessee, sharing thoughts on that one. But, all right, appreciate you guys as always. Check out everything else on the channel. Subscribe, like on your way out. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live, especially on Saturdays because we go live like 4 or 5 times throughout the day and evening. So we appreciate you and your support of our SEC basketball coverage. And we'll talk to you again soon. Southeastern 16.